Hey everyone, Maximilian here. It's now in the evening of day one of E3, and man, what an exhausting day. I don't think I've had to stand in one spot for that much of an extended period of time since working at freaking Electronics Boutique, but enough of that. As tired as I am, I really wanted to make a video for everyone, and a short demonstration recap of Street Fighter X or SFxTekken, because I literally dropped at least 4 hours of raw gameplay into it and at least 30 to 40 complete matches, and have a pretty good understanding of the game in its current state right now, or at least of what I was able to pick up. So this is going to be a quick demonstration and video recap. I'll be running a bunch of videos in the background right here. I won't be following them too much, but it's just going to be a ton of footage that I took from the day. And this is some early stuff. I didn't get much footage later in the day when I started to really break the game open, but here's just something to kind of wet your whistle until day 2 when we actually maybe get some quality footage. But I wanted to cover a few things that I noticed about the game right from the get-go, because I'm pretty sure everyone wants to know is this game like Street Fighter 4, is it like a versus game, stuff like that. So topic number 1 is the topic of movement and controls. Now in my very first opinions about Street Fighter X Tekken, it doesn't feel like Street Fighter 4 initially. It feels a lot more it's kind of hard to describe, but it's not as directly fluid. Like the characters are more locked to their animations, and they seem to be more, in a way, stiff. But you know, not in a bad way. It's just it's not the same thing you'd be used to. There are some really quirky things as far as like throw ranges and throwing mechanics. Not everything is completely there yet. So when it came to controls, this is your standard Street Fighter layout: 3 punches, 3 kicks. But for the sake of the game, yeah, jumping felt a little bit different than Street Fighter 4, and some of the characters felt pretty similar. But it's very early, but it's not bad by any means. It's just different. As far as the next topic, which is the visuals, the graphics in the game are pretty good. The animations I'm really surprised with, and I commemorate Capcom whenever they take characters of other franchises, especially like the SNK universe and now the Tekken universe, and they make their own iterations of them. They always look awesome. Like, Capcom does a really good job at reimagining characters in the Street Fighter universe, so all the Tekken dudes look pretty damn cool. Hwoarang, I was maining Ken and Kazuya almost the whole time. Used a few other characters, and I was pretty surprised. They look damn cool. While all the Street Fighter 4 characters, all the Street Fighter characters are their exact Street Fighter 4 iterations. There's not many differences in a couple of different animations. Ken's uppercut looks cool, and Ryu got his donkey kick is the only things I really noticed that were different. But aside from that, the visuals on the characters were pretty good. The shading was a little heavy at times, and it seemed to be like it wasn't totally like the final build of how the graphics were going to look, of course, and the backgrounds were a little stale in some situations. So, if anything, this is a very pre-alpha build. So, nothing to gripe upon, because the game looked visually interesting and very bright and vibrant. So next, let's get into some of the technical aspects. I'm sure you guys know a lot about Street Fighter X Tekken already if you're listening, and you kind of want to know the specifics about the game. So, right off the bat, the game's got a tag mechanic. Street Fighter X Tekken is kind of similar to Tekken Tag Tournament in this fashion. You press the focus attack, which is medium punch and medium kick, to tag in your other character. Now, this can be used in several different ways. Essentially, you use it kind of like a focus attack. You can literally, like, FADC some situations your other opponent, your other partner in, and they'll continue your combo. So you hold the button down, but I was running into some problems, like if you're in block stun and you're just exiting block stun, I was holding the buttons down and nothing was happening. So you kind of need to be really preemptive about like when you need to tag your guys in, because it can be extremely delayed if you raw tag in. And if you hit that tag and you begin to raw tag, your main character takes forever to exit. So I would catch a lot of opponents trying to tag their next guy in, because they'd be available to get hit. It's not safe at all, so you got to be on the lookout for that. The other thing is that I think this is similar to Tekken Tag, correct me if I'm wrong, where the character in Tekken Tag, if you knocked out one character in Tekken Tag, I think the game would just be KO. That's one round down the tube. And it's the exact same way in Street Fighter X Tekken. I can't remember if that's extremely right, because it's been a long time since I played Tekken Tag. But that's how it runs in Street Fighter X Tekken. No matter, even if your second dude has a full life bar, if your first character or the character on screen gets knocked out, it's game over. Round 1 is over. So, an interesting mechanic, but they give you a lot of tools to get the other character in safely if you have meter and stuff like that. So going down the line to other things like meter and how meter is used in this game, there's EX moves and there's some tag-in moves that take meter as well, and then there's your supers. And we were having a tough time figuring out how the hell to do supers with some characters. I eventually figured out that Ken's is double fireball back, 2 double fireball backs with all 3 kicks. And it took me forever to figure that out. That eats up 2 bars, and then you get EX meters that eat up 1 bar, of course. And I didn't really pay attention to much else, but I think that there's a tag super in some method or shape that uses all 3. I haven't been able to find it. No idea what the input for such a thing is, and they're not showing it on any of the artwork that's on the build. But when it comes to meter building, welcome back to Third Strike, folks. Whiffing normals builds meter in SFxTekken. Now, this is early, and this is a pretty substantial difference. Like, this kind of changes the flow of all these games, since Street Fighter 4 doesn't have that at all. Street Fighter 4 requires you to kind of get in or play fireball games from a distance to build meter. You don't have to do that in SFxTekken. You can whiff normals and build meter, and I found that if you whiffed about like 5 to 10 like mediums, you build like half a bar. I think in some situations it was, if you whiff a normal, every other normal would build meter. But if you threw a super or like a special, that would build a lot of meter. It'd build like maybe like a fifth of 1 bar. So if you just get what I mean, like, you can be sitting on the complete polar opposite end of the screen, building meter on your opponent. Oh my god, it reminds me of Third Strike. It's actually kind of neat. So the other thing is regenning health that's similar to Marvel vs. Capcom 3 in the Versus series. For example, there's gray health in this game. You knock one character with a ton of damage, and that person swaps in their partner, they'll start recovering health when they're not on screen. So if you'll notice, the health recovers kind of fast too. And you get a lot of gray life in this game. Like, it almost looks like 50-50 in some situations when you take a lot of damage. It's kind of crazy. Maybe 60-40. But for the sake of like saving your red health in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, it's very similar in SFxTekken. You got to get your dude out to recover the health that he lost. Now, getting to the further mechanics, and that's about what this game can kind of be compared to. The first thing that people want to know is what is it like? Well, okay, it's kind of like Street Fighter 4 in the fact that it's like footsie heavy, in my opinion. It becomes, once you get down to the point where you know how to do combos, it's very like step back, step forth, wait for someone to throw a normal, punish the normal, bait people with things, stuff like that. It's got that element to it, but at the same time, it's got this huge chain combo element. Everything in the game is chain combos, so that means like light, medium, heavy into forward heavy will tag in your next guy, which just comes in right after, and then you can do like another light, medium, heavy into special or whatnot. So those things do a ton of damage, and those just call your partner character in automatically as a result. So it's pretty neat, and I'm sure you'd probably see it a couple of times in this video while the footage is running. But the overwhelming feeling I had of the performance of this game is that it reminds me so much of Project Justice and the old Rival Schools games. In the terms of like feel and like the flow, it kind of reminds me of it. Sure, it's not on a 3D plane, and it's not like, you know, you can't 8-way run in this game at all. I just kind of got that vibe. Just my opinion. You don't have to take it seriously at all, but it's just kind of how I felt playing the game. But yeah, in terms of combos, it was kind of extremely weird. The game is chain combos, so when I was talking to Clockwork and Mike Ross earlier, and we were like, we broke this game down to its core elements, and that pretty much means light, medium, fierce, tag in dude, light, medium, fierce, special. It's kind of what every single person can do in this game, and at the very start, we couldn't find anything else but that. So there was some elements that you can use to mix them up and stop the combo, and then put yourself in a situation where you can like get a better mix-up. But it's really that. It's like 3 attacks, tag in your next guy, who will then do 3 attacks off of a juggle. Now, leading into the next thing, and that's about juggling in SFxTekken, they took this from Tekken really heavily. Anytime you're in the air, or most of the time when you put an enemy into an air stun situation, that means any single moment you touch an enemy while they're in the sky puts them into a juggle state. So a dude could jump in on you, and you hit light punch, they go into a juggle state, and you can actually do a big freaking combo as a result after, like light, medium, heavy, remaining combo. So this adds like a completely different mechanic that you're not used to as much in Street Fighter. Like Third Strike kind of had this, but it was more along the lines of like stun. Like when you got stunned, you went into this crazy air juggle state where you can get juggled a ton of times before it was over. But there's a limit on this one. You can only get bounced off the ground twice, I think, and you can only get so many hits in because of the chain combo limitations. But nonetheless, it's fun, and it's really pretty to look at. And the last thing that I can think of right now is charge moves. Every single character has got a single charge move, and that essentially means you do the motion for the move and you hold the input down, like the button. So if with Ken, it was Fireball or his Hurricane Kick. You pretty much held the kick button down, and you go into this like charge-like state, which resembles a focus attack, but much slower. And then they'll release this more devastating, higher damage version of a Hurricane Kick or whatever your single character's special is. Now that it's pretty interesting and it's kind of neat to look at, but it doesn't give you anything. Like it doesn't give you a soakable state. You can't like take one hit from a focus attack. You get kicked in the head, you get kicked in the freaking head. So I couldn't really find many uses for it. The most interesting aspect of it is that once you're charging, if you hold the charge completely and let it release itself, and I swear this takes like 5 seconds, maybe even longer, 5 to 7 seconds of you just sitting there holding this pose, you'll unleash your super and it won't cost any meter. I don't know why that would be useful. You might have to make the time of the charge motion to be less to be effective, but this seems completely useless in its current state. I'd imagine that's going to go through some changes later down the line. But it's an interesting mechanic that I might like to see worked on, or I'm not fully understanding its usefulness yet. You know, it's kind of hard to say because I only have so much playtime with the game. But that's about it right now. Tomorrow I'm going to be going and getting in some more conversations with some of the local Street Fighter guys that were there. I was speaking to Clockwork and Gutex and Mike Ross, and all of them were trying to understand the game. Mike seemed to be pretty... Mike seemed to just pick up the game like naturally. The guy was going on a crazy win streak, and I was getting pretty lucky at the show too, and having quite a bit of time on the machines because I wasn't losing. So I got some pretty good play time to try to mess around with some stuff, and tomorrow's going to be even more of that. So I think I've gotten to the point where I can start understanding the game and becoming better. So the footage that you guys are seeing now is going to get better, and hopefully I'll be able to get against some popular Street Fighter players like Mike and anyone else that might be at the show that is pretty good, because there was definitely some talent popping out of that booth by the end of the day, and some guys that were figuring things out. So that's about it for now. I hope you guys enjoyed the footage and my brief recap of Street Fighter X Tekken, and check back within the next couple of days as I'll be compiling footage and getting more stuff from E3. Not just Street Fighter X Tekken, I'm going to try to cover some other games too, but I did spend a lot of time at Capcom's booth today. But that's about it. Thanks for watching, folks, and I'll see you next time for another coverage day of E3.